Where's our boy at? Yes, hello. Zach ZYZ here. And shout outs to our intro right there. And our beloved snooze dog, the guardian of me having to get up and correct the day count because I didn't do it right yesterday. So it's, man, I am going to miss this cozy ass studio when my sorry ass is rattling around in the back of a van. We'll still be doing these editing streams from the road, but our glorious let me see. Hi guys, I know this might be a common question asked in here, but any resources to watch the JRE not on Spotify? Yeah, people fucking hate Spotify. Just their video player is trash. I don't know what's going on there. But yeah, I saw almost exactly the perfect truck drive by this morning. It's actually like a bread truck. And I was like looking at it and being like, what if there was a radio studio inside of that bread truck and scheming? So let's get down to the business of editing here. We got one edit remotely from Logic earlier. I'm actually going to give him a point for it right there. Boom. What? Oh, God damn it. I got to go fix that. All right. Looked out there. That could have been catastrophic. So Stardom says, yes, hello. I am eating croissant. Just, that's exactly how I picture Stratum at all times. Just mowing down croissants. All right, what do we got? This is what we're at right there. So Spaethiwa leading the pack with almost double Logic's entries. Logic was slipping yesterday. He did manage to get one edit into us. He told me that the number of inmates was incorrect, and he was definitely right. We had changed the wording earlier in the story, and it broke how many inmates were executed later in the story. So I was able to finish that up. So I want to go back to our epigraphs, since every time you edit something outside of a document, pages will bring you back to the very beginning. But I always like this one. Those who can make you believe absurdities can make you commit atrocities. I hope it's not doing the thing where it just repeats people's chats like over and over and over again. But I think that was an organic chat repeat from our boy Stratum. So just to give the rundown of how this is, it's helpful just if people tune in anytime. This is the story about a prisoner named Traitor, who is an inmate on a space station. The story's set like 500 or 600 years in the future. It's not really super important. And he's part of a stellar empire called the Hezo Collective Prosperity Sphere. It is has like largely Chinese origins, so a lot of the language that you'll see in here is Chinese derived from Middle Chinese and like a little bit of older Chinese and some colloquial Chinese, but not so much there. Oh no, is it doing the thing where it just repeats chats over and over again? Fuck. Yeah, I don't know why it do that. Let me go to the. Yeah, it's not me doing that. Yeah, sometimes it just fucking does that. It just repeats. Um, it's the Restream plugin that will just fucking repeat one person over and over and over again. What I forget what I had to do. I think I had to block somebody. Hold on, let's just reboot the Restream chat here. What do we got there? I would keep my 100-pound figure if I ate that many croissants. So I think this is like one of the wonderful things about Restream is that sometimes chat messages get caught in the buffer. So this has happened to them before. Oh, I see Jack of Trades saying good morning. Yeah, we may just have to live with the continual scrolling of croissants. All right, so here's a test. Yeah, I think the last time this happened, we just had to like fucking ride it out, and it was just like an issue on the Restream side. I'm on their Discord. I can ask what hell's going on there. Yeah, let me do that. I'm a Restream customer. They owe me an explanation. Demi-plane. I don't even remember what their Discord looks like. God, I got so many wacky Discords in this. Yeah, there's one row of servers where it's just like Streamlabs and then this and then that and I don't see it. Test. Well, maybe that stopped it. Oh no! It so every Stratum, everything that you chat is gonna repeat over and over and over again. So, uh, if I think it only repeats like 3 or 4 times. So, yeah, if you would just not chat there and message me on IRC if anything is crazy. Let's see. No, everybody's just gonna echo their. Oh, hold on, we gotta go to their fucking Discord server to fix this. Yep. Then that your bird. I can't see the end of me. My whole expanse. I cannot see. What is their? I still can't find their fucking stream. The support, restream help. All right, so I bitched about it in their general chat, but it's fucking annoying right there. Yeah, it's just gonna roll up. It fucking ruins the whole. If you can, try like hopping on the Twitch channel, rather than the so it's twitch.tv/ZachZYZ. I think it was YouTube specific last time. So if you send chats on Twitch, I think that they won't echo throughout time for all eternity. Let's see. Yeah, very disappointing to me to have this shit just happen because like interacting with the viewers is like the most important thing part of this thing, and it's just like a server side error that just crops up and it's a pain in the ass. But you know, like it's not my server. Like they don't charge me for this, so I can't be. Yeah, you just see like the echo of morning. I wouldn't keep my 130-pound figure if I ate that many croissant, and then test. But if we go to twitch.tv/ZachZYZ, I think it's a YouTube API specific thing. Um, and I think that will work okay if anybody wants to go to that effort. Ugh. 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 It's a shame too because the chapter that we got coming up is such an important chapter. But I guess if Space Theory or Logic aren't here anyway, they're kind of the heaviest hitters in terms of offering like granular grammar updates and so. Well, let's take a look at our story. We can rehash and see if this shit ever starts working. Ugh, just a fucking avalanche of chats. And so anyhow, this is the story of a convict on a space station who was being brainwashed to participate in a mission, and we don't know exactly what or exactly why, but yeah, shit is just broken. Hmm. Yeah, I have been And then fucking annoying. Substratum. Oh, so Spathiwa, if you're reading this, it's doing the thing where it's echoing chats on YouTube, but it might not be echoing chats on Twitch. So if you want to try that out, it'll cycle fucking A stratum over and over and over again, or substratum. Sup, 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 sup. So what do we get to in the story so far? So this is him reminiscing about the Dicta Bulka. We have the first struggle session with Trader, where we find out that they're losing the war. One day all the radios were gone, blah, 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 blah. Then we introduced the murderous character, who's a woman who was in prison for aborting her baby. Then we get to meet the pirate character, who was an actual pirate, space pirate. Milkshake brings the boys to the yard, and they're like, it's better than yours. Pirate's a long chapter. And that's them shoveling literal shit. And there's spoiled biomass. Then we have the corrupt chapter. We meet the corrupt was the governor of a moon. I only see one substratum, so maybe they fixed whatever the fuck was wrong in there. Let me see. And let me know on IRC if you're like sending Twitch chats and they're not coming through. I don't know. It's, you know, I can't hate on fucking Restream. It's an amazing service. It's totally fucking for free. And I know that the server considerations are not inconsiderable. But it does make me sad to have it fuck up our flow. I wonder if it's some way tied into me firing off test messages. All right, so we did chapter 5, Silhouettes. I was very sleepy last night. I don't know if I took like an extra melatonin by mistake or whatever, but I was like conked the fuck out. Interceptor Harrier, sir. So that's about a quarter of the book so far, where we basically introduced 3 or 4 different characters that are going to be a part of it. We've detailed a lot of the relationship. Okay, so Spathiwa typing, I can see that chat. Thank you, Spathi. So I'm just going to take a moment to fucking center myself and clear my mind of all negativity. What do we got there? So I see a message from Stratum. The Senate is voting on amendment number 888. I have a Twitch one, but it doesn't appear on screen. Okay, so when he types on chat, it doesn't appear on the screen. Let me get to the bottom of what's going on here. Okay, well, I can see your chats on IRC Clown. If you just highlight me on them. Let me try and log in here. Let's see if they fucking. I hate 2-factor login. It's fucking horseshit. Yeah. What? Authenticator. Okay, so I see from Spathiwa. Let me just do a test there, and it does appear here. And let me see. We outcheer Logic++ test. Error with command crip LMO RIP. Let me see. Young internet. What do we got here? Restream chat. Okay, yeah, so Twitch shit does seem to be coming through. Shout outs to Young Internet right there. He must be super fucking bored. What is that? The authenticator key? stratum. Let me see. Okay, so he has some kind of oh yeah, it's like an IRC spammer for Twitch or whatever. That was Wonderwall. Got to get some shit done, but the spammer didn't actually work because let me see. What did anything fucking render on his whole thing? He was trying to play his Crypt 2 ASCII, but it errored out on him, and he fucking boogied the hell out of the chat. So that was a despicable. All right, well, let's get down to the business of editing this shit right here. So there's a token generator, set server to auth whatever, and then Stratum's message didn't appear on the fucking screen. All right. Well, I'm well and truly distracted from the task at hand. So we're gonna write this chapter in a slightly different voice than some of the other chapters that have come through. This is going to be in the voice of XEROS, the drill sergeant. And so XEROS and Trader, our primary character or protagonist or whatever the fuck you want to call him, they have some commonalities between the two of them. They're both like a little bit sadistic and a little bit obsessed with like order and so forth. These guys are like two peas in a pod. So it's going to be kind of a pain in the ass to distinguish between these two characters. And so you could think about it as like trying to tell the difference between like your fucking Mountain Dew swilling racist hillbilly friend and his like 45-year-old Confederate flag wife beater wearing drunken, step uncle or some shit like that. Warmed up the leaderboard. Yeah. Oh yeah, it was. I've just had it like open for days. Like even if it takes like 15 minutes to get there, I'll just leave it open. And just although I will have to reboot the machine tonight, so should remember tomorrow that we gotta fire that motherfucker up. All right, but this is a long chapter, so it's gonna take some focus to get through this. In this one, we deal with an abrupt voice shift. We're trying to explain like a long period of history in the Hezo and so forth. And our main thing is I don't want this chapter to be boring or for it to be indistinguishable from the voice of the primary character. There's a few different things. So there's no, we don't get to do dialogue in this long reminiscence. So everything is like a little bit longer. So I think part of the way that I try to address this is by having XEROS speak in this very emphatic and sort of almost like florally descriptive hate language, and we'll see if it pans out. But all right, so this is XEROS by Zach ZYZ. We're on the 5th day of editing, and we've made it all the way to chapter 6. We're actually at a tremendous clip right here. We've edited like about a quarter of the book. So if we keep up with this clip, potentially we'll be done within like 24 days or so. It would be cool to finish within the month of February. So XEROS, the legend of Arcturus. This was a long, long time ago, Trader. The Navy was different then. We thought okay, and we had a little distinction earlier about what were we fucking trying to do? We like distinguished between the Hezo and the Navy. I think we're okay to say Navy here. We thought we were pure enough to wield the devil's weapons without becoming demons ourselves. What a price we paid. I think this has to be devils. We thought we were pure enough to wield the devil's weapons without becoming devils ourselves. What a price we paid. The Hezo was young and wild, heady off a stream of victories that seemed never-ending. We'd yet to accept the inevitability of entropy. Look around you. Everything falls apart. Back then, if you told me I would be drilling a hurt... Back then, come. If you told me I would be drilling a herd of incompetent convicts in some dilapidated VTS shithulk, I would have laughed in your face. Then I would have knocked your fucking teeth out. Comma. Yet here we are. What brought us here? Weakness. Let me read this paragraph again and try to nail the voice of XEROS. This was a long, long time ago, traitor. The Navy was different then. We thought we were pure enough to wield the devil's weapons without becoming devils ourselves. What a price we paid. What the fuck is that? Yeah, what? Why on earth did we... Might be like a session open elsewhere. Or it might be somebody hacking the fucking matrix of this. I keep offsite backups of all this shit just in case somebody gets into my fucking thing and starts fooling with it. But yeah, it's just... I guess it's just one of those days. Maybe the moon is fucking in phase and space rays fucking... Oh. Yeah, so what I'll do there is I'll kill the other browser sessions that are on that if that keeps happening. But yeah, it feels like everything is coordinated to fuck up my flow. But I've been doing this for a long ass time, so it's not going to do that. Let me just check in on our other chats and make sure that nothing is fucking broken. Nah, I think everybody's at about the same spot at the moment there. Hold on, live streaming. Yeah, but how many echoes will we see? Yeah, not all chats are even fucking sending. So one platform that I feel reasonably sure on is IRC. So I can always like pop onto IRC if your message isn't getting through. Just scroll it there, and I'll check from time to time. If you can, just highlight me on IRC if you have something that needs to be fixed or whatever there, and I can tab over to it. The Hezo was young and wild, heady off a stream of victories that seemed never-ending. We'd yet to accept the inevitability of entropy. Look around you. Everything falls apart. Back then, if you'd told me I would be drilling a herd of incompetent convicts in some dilapidated VTS shithulk, I would have laughed in your face. Then I would have knocked your fucking teeth out. Yet here we are. What brought us here? Weakness. Since we left the trees, one enemy has defeated all of our greatest leaders, toppled our mightiest empires. Degeneration. Sinister whispers that the weak would be strong if only life were fair. Misfits must be included. The aberrant must be tolerated. The steadfast ought to feed the slothful. There we go. Time and time again, when the war is won, the meek rise up to swallow the weary victors. The result is inevitable. Chaos, confusion, discord, bureaucracy, aftermath. And so this is like a reference to the fall of the Roman Empire there. Because XEROS, like a lot of the imagery that he's going to use and a lot of the character traits that he's going to have are straight fascist. So let's just check and make sure this shit is all what it's meant to be. Okay, cool. It might be sorted at this point. Before the fall, the Hezo collective prosperity sphere claimed 100 systems with eyes on a... Then we had eyes on 1,000 more. I served Z Admiral Lang Tong Chinsi and Strike Force Lu. Okay, when we say Z Admiral, these are actually Chinese ranks. It's like Zaishan or whatever there. So, yeah, ranks of the People's Liberation Army Navy. So he would be a Zhongjiang, vice admiral right there. That would be Qinzi right there. And then Shangjiang would be the highest rank. They're OF9 right there. So I think these are the only two ranks that we actually include here. And we just kind of have the idea that some of these have persisted through the centuries, and that the what the Chinese Empire has become is still using them. So when we say Z Admiral, there is not something that will make sense to readers like right off the bat. Maybe like and this is the first chapter where we really start getting we start talking about like the different stars that the Hezo Empire has gotten into. Think of the Hezo's greatest victories. And this Tea Garden, Epsilon Indi, Ran. Yeah. Think of the think of the Hezo's greatest victories. Tea Garden, which is a star. Epsilon Indi, Ran. What fleet spearheaded them all? You know the name. Say it. So a construct that we're using here. Oh shit! There's Logic. Logic says these here. Logic. I think it's doing the thing where YouTube comments echo again and again and again. Dan was showering. Oh, you haven't missed anything, except for the start of the chapter, which will. Let me see. Which is fine. Like, the start is just, this was a long, long time ago. Trader Navy was different again. We'd yet to accept the inevitability of entry. Look at you. Everything falls apart. If you told me I would be drilling a herd of incompetent convicts in some dilapidated VTS shithulk, I would have laughed in your face. Then I would have knocked your fucking teeth out. So he's talking about what brought them into this situation where they're in this old space station that's falling apart. And he claims that it's weakness. Since we left the trees, one enemy has defeated all of our greatest leaders and toppled our mightiest empires. Degeneration. Sinister whispers that the weak would be strong if only life were fair. Misfits must be included. The aberrant must be tolerated. The steadfast ought to feed the slothful. Time and time again, when the war is won, the meek rise up to swallow the weary victors. The result is inevitable. Chaos, confusion, discord, bureaucracy, aftermath. All right, so if I add and, I don't need a comma, but you are right. Okay, I'll give Logic that old point. Before the fall, the Hezo Collective Prosperity. Why are we using the full name? Oh, why are we? It's actually kind of confusing to bounce between the two of them. I wanted to invoke the full name. So yeah, definitely in the audio read, in the audiobook read, we want his diction to be kind of like clipped and exact, like the words are fucking nails in his mouth. Yeah, I don't see more, knock on wood, but I don't see any more echoing. So yeah, glad you're here, Logic and Spaethiwa and Stratum and everything. Hopefully that's sorted out. If it continues to echo again and again, we'll just move to comments on IRC or something like that. What do we got? And so here, it's the chapter is written as if he's directly kind of telling this tale to Trader. So from time to time, he'll have like asides where he talks to Trader, and hopefully that works out as a convention or like a gimmick. If it doesn't work out, let me know, and we can think about changing it up. That's right, inmate. Steel Wave. The bloodiest enterprise in human history. We don't need the word single there. We swept through collaborator systems, crimson in our wake. If we so much as glanced in the direction of a planet, the evacuation would begin. Planets evacuated if we so much as glanced in their direction. Chintzy was the first to recognize. And so the Clabs are basically like a interstellar empire of crab people, run by a like a dark magician emperor. No, it's not actually true. So Clabs is just their slur for collaborators. And so it's not clear at this point who they're collaborators with. But ultimately, the story of this war in this story is between a group called the Collaborators and the Hezo Collective Prosperity Sphere. It wasn't Chintzy understood the basic truth of the Clabs. It wasn't enough to defeat them. They had to be eradicated. And we were eager for the work. It all led to the Eye of Dagon, which is an actual weird nebula that has some strange things about it. In that smoldering disk, we charged into the Collaborator fortifications, outnumbered 4-1. Steel wave never crested. When the day was done, Fomalhaut Fortress lay in ruins. I actually don't know how to pronounce this. I think it's Fomalhaut. Like, if I had to guess, it would be something like Omaha. Why are these? Yeah, here. Let's take the one that's only 18 seconds long. So this is a star.
Fomalhaut.
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 Wait, there are comments here.
Fomalhaut. Fomalhaut.
Okay, so people are confirming.
Fomalhaut.
Fomalhaut is, I would have never got that right. When the day was done, Fomalhaut Fortress lay in ruins. Is lay correct there? I'm so sick of the confusion around lie and lay, and I've read these rules like 100 fucking times, and it never sticks. It's just something that needs to be removed from English just to suit me personally. I think it's right. I don't fucking care. It's, when the day was done, Fomalhaut Fortress lay in ruins. I could just say was in ruins, but and the backbone of the Collaborators was broken forevermore. They would never again field the grand fleets we'd battled at Curve Array in the Celestial Sphere. So to me, it's just so cool that they're talking about like battles in constellations. Um, and one of the important things in this story is I've set like an upper limit. So humanity has only ranged about 100 light years away from Sol. So every star that you see here should, outside of ones where we talk about like the absolute maximum that we should talk about in this story, as a place that people can go, is probably about 300 light years away from Sol. And most of the stars that we're talking about are within about 30 light years or whatever. Actually, I have star maps in my bathroom of all the stars, just so that I could like look at them while we were doing all the stars within like 100 light years and all the stars within like 25 light years. And as I was like taking breaks to take a shit, like while I'm fucking writing this story, I would be gathering at these star maps and being like, yeah, what stars could we talk about? Like, I wonder what's happening there. And then I go and read up on what's happening at that star. Like Tau Ceti is crazy. It just has like this giant accretion disk around it that other stars don't really have. And the Eye of Dagon is like another weird one. There's so many like the stars are like so varied in a way once you start digging into them. It's really interesting, and it just like it's a fertile ground for a lot of different stories. They would never again field the grand fleets we'd battled at Curve Array and the Celestial Spear. I think the Celestial Spear is like the Chinese name for Orion's Belt. Um, it's interesting, like what different cultures have seen in their constellations. But our boot came down, and the whip remnants. Oh yeah, I don't like this construct right here. Yeah, a lay is fine. Come to think of it, truly is one of the finer things in life. they would. I think we're not appearing on OBSage. Yeah, I'm seeing the chats in. Oh, just a bunch of chats just popped up at once. I remember our extensive research. It resolved with "do whatever you want." Uh, Let me see. No, it's popping up on OBS, but it's like some kind of fucking weird delay or whatever. There's some issue with the chat server. But I am seeing your chats on Restream. Dagon is pronounced Dagon or Dagon. Oh, that's interesting. All right, I'll use Dagon. Our boot came down and the cockroaches scattered to the stars. Steel Wave fought the longest. We won the key battles, took the worst casualties. Still, the work of finishing the war fell to us. Yeah. YT chats show up after 10 seconds. Yeah, that's to give me a lead so that you guys don't just get like a million comma points and shit. Steel Wave fought the longest. We won the key battles and took the worst casualties. Yeah, there we go. Steel Wave fought the longest. We were frontline in all the pivotal battles. We, we took the most grievous casualties. Still, the work of finishing the war fell to us. Wait, are chats like appearing and then vanishing? No, it's about the same. It just keeps there's like some off-screen refresh happening there. Still, the work of finishing the war fell to us. The other fleets returned home to victory parades. They settled down, got fat, and raised families. We need the Oxford comma there. Our hands stayed bloody. We knew what had to be done. Got YouTube echoing. Let me see. Mein Gott. My Gott. Yeah, it's a shame. I remember that happened in Space Tards, or was it in? I don't think it happened in Lemon. Maybe praise Allah, but it definitely happened in either Gravit or Space Tards, and it was just like a one-day thing where everything was in runes. But it doesn't seem like it's echoing at the moment. YouTube is not echoing. No, it definitely was. If you scroll back in the broadcast, it was echoing 100%. I heard like 8 times that Stratum was eating croissants, which is very, very cute. What do we got there? System after system, we hunted down the cowards and put them to the knife. This should be in system after system. In system after system, we hunted down the cowards and put them to the knife. So Logic is having some excellent beef and rice and feeling good at living at the dope ass planet. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Yeah, rice is good. Beef and rice are both pretty fucking amazing right there. I like every once in a while I would just get like super hungry for a really spicy beef and fried rice, and not like oh, you can't get good Chinese food in New York City for the most part, which is a shame. Um, but it's actually there are a lot of foods that are like much better outside of New York City. I think we have one regional displayer, like whoever the displayer, a supplier, like there's like a Cisco or whatever venture here where they just because they ship out so much food, they just go down a notch or two in quality right there. Like even you go to like a fucking Taco Bell in New York City and be like, what is this vile swill? Go to a Taco Bell like 200 miles away, and it's like a completely different fucking experience. I know I'm a connoisseur of Taco Bell, but yeah, it's gonna be good to get out of this fucking city at some point. In system after system, I like this better. System by system, we hunted down the cowards and put them to the knife. Oh, now it's echoing. Yeah, fucking YouTube. Fuck you, YouTube. Oh, why? So it's not echoing on Twitch, by the way. If you just want to move your chats over to Twitch, they will stop echoing. And I think it was like only 3 or 4 echoes each time. Anything super critical, just tag me on IRC and highlight me. But yeah, congratulations. You received 100 messages today with a restream chat because they're echoing again and again. Let me see if these nerds fucking said anything. No, the restream chat has nothing for us. It's totally G. No problems here. Yeah, we'll see that like 800. And the other part of it is at some point people think it's funny and they just start repeating their chats themselves to further vex and annoy me. But I'm gonna fucking like edit today. I don't care who stops me. Speaking one, there's 100 points for everyone. System by system, we hunted down the cowards and put them to the knife. There was much work to be done, and we had the stomach for it. We were good at it. If we'd been left alone, there wouldn't have been 2 collaborators left in the galaxy to conspire together. But you're sitting here. You know that wasn't to be. People forget, traitor. When the danger is past, they love to puff themselves up, to pretend they were never frightened. After the great rout at Fomalhaut, everything changed. Fomalhaut. Was it? God damn it. Fomalhaut. After the great rout at Fomalhaut, everything changed. The High Command was eager to shift away from the austerity of total war. A new class of soft-bellied usurpers was rising, eager to reap what Steel Wave had sown. Now that we chased the wolves from their door. Yeah. We chased the wolves from their doors. Now they had no use for warriors. Yeah, this is just like a tough fucking sentence right here. Thank you, Logic. I have in my will for you to inherit all my edit points with interest. Oh. Once we chased the wolves from their doors, they had no use for warriors. We would not compromise or relent. We were an obstacle, and our teeth were still sharp. Yeah, let's just get. I don't like having wolves from their door, and then we talk about steel wave having teeth. Also, lang tong, I think means copper wolf. Um, so it just makes more sense for. They had no use for warriors who would not compromise or relent. We were an obstacle. Our teeth were still sharp. Editing from my Twitch mansion right now. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. I just want to like take a moment to appreciate how fucking amazing it is that I can have like real time streaming at 1080 penis on a bunch of different platforms, no problemos whatsoever. I remember we used to do this shit from at like 300 by 240, and it was all like buffery, and you get like one frame every 5 seconds or some shit like that. And it would have just been impossible to do this kind of real time collaboration. And now this is amazing. Oh yeah, yeah. That comment has to go. There we go. We were an obstacle, and our teeth were still sharp. The High Command sent us to the most distant posts, far away from their schemes. The outcome was inevitable. Without our voices on the council, there was no one to quell their idiotic ideas. After all of our valor, all of our sacrifice, we handed over the reins to a pack of squabbling children. Realize this, traitor. The collaborator... Yeah, I don't like... Yeah, this... We were an obstacle to their schemes, and they feared us. Our teeth were still sharp. The High Command sent us to the most distant posts, far away from their schemes, blah, blah, blah. The outcome was inevitable. Without our voices on the council, there was no one to quell their idiotic ideas. After all of our valor, all of our sacrifice, we handed over the reins to a pack of squabbling children. You must understand. The collaborators were not finished. The wound we infected at Dagon was grievous, but not mortal. No military can afford to be of two minds in a war. The collaborator vermin will rise again and again. But the civilians could never understand this. The civilians could never understand this. A new faction rose, administrators and bureaucrats who traded empty promises for power. They called themselves reconcilers. They spoke of the need for unity, the imminence of peace. The fools had the masses convinced the collaborators would just surrender if we'd only stop killing them. The fools had the masses convinced the collaborators would surrender if only we'd stop killing them. If we'd only... yeah. If only Steel Wave would stop killing them. They whined that our assaults were damaging infrastructure, our purges were liquidating labor pools. Um, so let's pause right here and figure out where we're at with this chapter. Um, this is like a very um, this is like a very heavy-handed voice for Suros. There's not a lot of subtlety um, to the way that he's saying this. So if we want to do that, I think it has to be in the context of like this is what Suros truly believes. He's like having a heart to heart with this prisoner and just letting this all spill out. Um, like maybe like something in the chapter before about how he couldn't believe the shit that he's saying. It's so weird for to hear like a drill talking this way. Um, Maybe we'll get to that after the chapter here, but I worry a little bit that this is too much, and that it's like the character has no subtlety or. But let's. I guess we'll keep going for a little bit there, but we may have a rewrite of this chapter. The other part of it is such like a weird day with like the chat fucking up and everything that which is a shame because this is a chapter that I need to get right. I like this part though. They whined that our assaults were damaging infrastructure. Our purges were liquidating labor pools. I like this where they're just going through and fucking genociding these planets, and people are like, we need them to work. Um, these men never flew a mission. They never put their lives on the line for the glory of the Hezo. I worry too. Like, why did he pick this one kid? They're hanging out on the floor. Well, they're not on the floor, right? They're sitting in a pair of like folding chairs together, like they're watching a movie. And we set this up at the end of the last thing where he's like flipping onto the slides when certain things come up. But it's very much a departure. Like the big bad drill sergeant has singled out this one fucking kid. Like the although keep in mind, like this is the sergeant's pet, right? He's the one who's like never fucking up in inspections and so forth. Even though he's like getting his ass beat like the others, but he is not fucking up in inspections. He knows all the planes, and his flight scores are like absolutely the best. And when he's saying like, "Why have I been spared?" and so forth, he sees himself as like the smallest, the weakest, etc. But actually, he's the one who's fucking up the least in the context of this whole thing. He really is like the primary recruit, and he can't see it. And obviously, you know, like the in the oh right, but why? Why like we're picking this guy in the whole thing? We get into that later in the story, but if it needs to happen earlier in the story, we can foreshadow this a little bit earlier on, like other instances of favoritism that are showed to him. Um, and I think it gets deep into it. Like the other prisoners react to the fact that he's getting singled out and getting like a kind of special treatment, and they don't like it one fucking bit. And it makes him like a little bit of an outcast later in the story. Um, so what we can potentially do here, if we feel like this is too much, which this is a lot for like if a, I think if we think about the power dynamic of basic training, right? We're thinking about it in the context of like when we went through basic training, which is the giant fucking army or giant fucking air force. I went through when it was peacetime, and like the drill sergeants like really couldn't give two shits about us other than like us not getting recycled for the most part. There wasn't a war going on. It wasn't like imperative and so forth. At the point where they're doing this, we need to think like much more in the context of the end of Imperial Japan, like where we've already talked about how the supply lines are being cut, about how nothing works anymore, and it should become increasingly clear that this mission is potentially like, hey, this is our last shot. Suros doing this heart to heart with others before or Trader before is just weird. Well, only Trader ever receives this kind of like unfettered access, right? So what we can potentially do is we can have this set up as wouldn't a war a situation lower the standards for passing a recruit rather than making the training sergeants train harder? In this particular war situation, you have to imagine that this is a like Eminem style. You only get one shot. Do not miss your chance to rock. This opportunity comes once in a lifetime. Just I don't want to spoil too much about this, but let's say that this is the last fucking dance, right? And the hopes of the entire Hezo may wind up riding on the shoulders of Trader, which I guess you can guess if we talk about something like this. Like we're obviously going to go for the highest stakes that we possibly can, and we are talking about like if you look at the other recruits too, they're old and children and so forth. They're people who are garbage, so they're down to really the dregs. And this child is who they hope can fly the final mission, and with the final stroke, win the war after losing every battle. So I think it's a good note at this point here that we should go back a little bit. What did I put in this guy here? I probably have some ideas here already there. Probably needs to be split into 2 chapters, maybe an additional mechanic to make this a little less telly. Oh, and I did make that change about the positioning of the interrogation scene after this. A trait in Trader. So, okay. So here's how we're going to solve that problem, right? In the chapter previous to this, and we go pretty deep into this whole thing, what's happening here, we'll have it that XEROS has identified. It's like, hey, you're not acting like a true believer would anymore. And we need to weight that with the threat of execution, right? He needs to, at some point, be like, I'm going to tell you this fucking story. And if you don't get back on board with the mission, I'm going to execute you, right? And the story is really a little bit calculated. It contains a lot of the things that Trader likes, like big military battles and crazy spaceships and details and stuff like that. And the promise of glory, which is like a something that XEROS is going to continually dangle in front of him. And this is something I like too, because I felt like we didn't deal enough with the sort of deep psychological effects of brainwashing here. And like when we have this abrupt transition here, we can lead into it a little bit more and think about what the motivations are of the characters to justify the things that they're doing here. So I like that a lot. Monad is asking, is this Space Tards? It's not even in the same fucking universe. The physics don't work the same. This is like a completely different story. What is Get It? Trait? The fuck is Get It? Oh, a trait, Get It. It's a terrible pun. Yeah, that shit flew right by me. Like a fucking speeding spacecraft. But so fucking we get into later in the story. It's one of the final notes of this thing is why XEROS is all in on Trader, and it forms like sort of the central drama of the piece. But I like the idea of he recognizes this guy's losing a little steam in the Zeal department, and he's trying to puff him back up here. From Swerve of Shore to Bend of Bay. I don't know that one. The other part of it too is when we work on this story, XEROS is our devil figure, right? He needs to be sort of manipulating and tempting the protagonist towards his ultimate goal, and the ultimate goal has to be like the protagonist traitor selling his soul. So we keep that in mind when we're doing this here. So this is him dangling like a story that he wants to hear there. But you can hear a lot of bitterness in this post too, which I like. I like because they're essentially like on the brink of defeat right here, and he wants to identify who's responsible. So let's get back to it. The civilians could never understand this. A new faction rose, and this is like a spot in like brainwashing us versus them. He's trying to isolate the primary character and make him feel like he's part of this elite unit, like he's got like a family in the Navy, and that everybody else can't be trusted, and they'll just fuck up everything. These men never flew a mission. They never put their lives on the line for the glory of the Hezo. The glory of the Hezo can just go away. They never put their lives on the line. Yet, there were plenty of cowards and cripples to glom onto their stupid ideas. There are always more worms than warriors. The reconcilers gained ground while we were in the wilderness, unaware of the rising threat. Stick that out. Okay. So he starts talking about this ideological division between Steel Wave, which is like basically the diehards in the military, and these people who are believing that the war is over. He's feeding into kind of like this power fantasy. Like if we just got rid of all the cripples and the weak people and so forth, we could be Sparta. Didn't work out great for Sparta, but Steel Wave was absolutist to the core. We believed then, and I still believe today, that the only good collaborator is a dead collaborator. Collaboration is a cancer. Every infected cell must be purged. Tolerance is treason. So I'm trying to get into some real 1984 shit here. This is like a little awkward though. Yeah, well, let's just take out this construct right here. Steel Wave was absolutist to the core. The only good dead collaborator is a dead collaborator. Let's make this collab. The only good collab is a dead collab. Collaboration is a cancer. Every infected cell must be purged. Tolerance is treason. So to the reader, we haven't really gotten into who or what the enemy might be collaborating with. And it's another one of these slow reveals throughout the course of the story right here. The only good collab is a dead collab. Collaboration is a cancer. Every infected cell must be purged. Tolerance is treason. I think that may be a little much. But I like the way the line sounds. So I'm going to leave it in there for now, but I could see that coming out in a subsequent edit. In all of this, Admiral Lang Tong Chinsi was as constant as cesium. Did I spell this fucking right? I think that's how this is spelled. Yep. Oh, this is the cesium in American English. We're gonna do this English. Silence is violence. If you look at like the way XEROS is talking, really, really strongly anti what you would call like SJW or very anti everything that is sort of the acceptable politic in the United States right now. He's against all that shit, right? We don't get into racism at all in the story because it's fucking space and I'm tired of racism. But what he's talking about here is just anybody who is weak, he feels can just be disposed of. They have no value. Their opinions aren't important and so forth. So we're, while we don't have to deal with like any sort of racism and so forth, we do we deal with the disparity between the able and the unable. And he's very strongly on the side of if somebody isn't strong, we just put him in the airlock and blast him into space. And we can see that like the end game of his ideology is they don't have their navy is down to like a bunch of dudes floating on a spaceship in some forgotten or on a space station in some forgotten sector, having to run some crazy fucking Hail Mary play to even have a chance. Space darts. They're honestly, it's like very similar to a dart. If you think about it, we're going for the bullseye. In all this, Admiral Lang Tong Chinsi was as constant as cesium. Strikeforce Lu never relented. Discipline and morale never wavered. If we'd had just one more commander like her, you and I would have never met. You would have never been born. That vile nest of sympathizers that spawned you would have been purged with fire. Don't nod at me, you filth. I'll tear your fucking face off. Tell me something, traitor. What's the rarest element in the universe? Not astatine, you literal-minded fool. Great leaders are the rarest element in the universe. See, this is some like real middle management type horseshit right here. I really like that exchange. We're lucky to see one a century. The Hezos squandered theirs in the wilderness. Chincy spent years in null space sweeping from star to star, while our enemies were whispering against us, consolidating power. Meanwhile, our enemies were whispering against us and consolidating power. It's the great tragedy of politics. The useful and competent are too busy actually producing and building to bother with bureaucracy. Competent people are too busy actually producing to bother with bureaucracy. So now he's shading into like some ultra libertarian type horseshit. Governance is the providence. Providence. Governance is the province of the inept. God damn. All right, so space Nazi libertarians. And just let me level with you, son. There ain't nobody good in the government. Them revenuers can get the hell away from my still. Get off my land. Years passed. Planets fell. Once the reconciler cowards had the numbers, they began to publicly call for our disbanding. Once the reconciler cowards had the numbers, they began to call publicly for the disbanding of Steel Wave. Supply train disruptions became routine. We began to arrive at systems only to find the collaborators had fled. Someone talked. All right, let's try this again. Years passed. Planets fell. Once the reconciler cowards had the numbers, they began to call publicly for the disbanding of Steel Wave. Supply train disruptions became routine. We began to arrive at systems only to find the collaborators had fled. Someone in high command was leaking. The state media began to make snippy little jokes. Uh, yeah, this is. The state media dared to joke about us. The state media even dared to joke about us, painting us as bumbling fools. Let me make sure I don't repeat that a little bit later. A few of Chintzy's captains advised her to lead a delegation to Sigma Draconis, to throw her hat into the political ring. A few of Chintzy's captains advised her to lead a delegation to Sigma Draconis, and throw her hat into the political ring before it was too late. The reconciler dogs wouldn't be so quick to laugh if the fiercest warriors in the Hezo... Yeah. Let me just take that out. Okay, I like that. Why didn't it play my fucking... I think I double tapped it there. But you did get the point. Wah, 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 wah. Here. What do we got? All right. Let's try that again. Once the reconciler cowards had the number, they began to openly call for the disbanding of Steel Wave. Supply chain disruptions became routine. We began to arrive at systems only to find that collaborators had fled. Someone in high command was leaking. The state media even dared to joke about us, painting us as bumbling fools. A few of Chintzy's captains advised her to lead a delegation to Sigma Draconis and throw her hat into the political ring before it was too late. So here we established that Sigma Draconis is like the seat of the Hezo High Command. The reconciler dogs wouldn't be so quick to laugh if we were in striking range. Admiral Chintzy refused to sully herself in that pit of snakes. Instead, she had announced a great reorganization of the fleet to make us more agile and more self-sufficient. Comma. After the great shakeup, she filed a battle plan with High Command, an attack on the collaborator infestation at Barnard Star. Once more, the collaborators were warned. Well, honestly, forewarned, why would you ever fucking say forewarned? Right? It doesn't make any sense to warn somebody after the fact. Comma after instead. Where's that at? Yep, that is indeed a logic comma. There we go. Boom. Logic comma. After the great shakeup, she filed a battle plan with High Command, an attack on the collaborator. An all-out attack on the collaborator infestation at Barnard Star. Once more, the collaborators were warned. Our ships arrived to find the system deserted. Yet strangely, only 2 ships arrived at Barnard Star that day. They were the Ta Bing and the Despicable. It must have seemed an odd pairing for an assault. The Despicable was a top-of-the-line Mark VI Jingin destroyer. The Ta Bing was the oldest destroyer in the fleet, well known for her cantankerous reactor. Let's check that out. Minutes after arrival in the system, the Ta Bing suffered catastrophic engine failure. Immediately, her captain broadcast a distress call. The captain of the Despicable answered swiftly by powering up his main cannons. I wish I had been there. I would have died 1,000 deaths on the Ta Bing just to look at the faces of all those reconciler sympathizers and high command moles. Every turncoat on the fleet had been reassigned to the same boat. The guns of the despicable were their firing squad. I love that. Comma needed after yet, but strangely, an attack on. Let's try that. Yeah, let's do that. Comma needed after yet before strangely. Yet strangely. uh I don't like having like the two commas there. Yet strangely. How can we make that not happen? We could have a fucking yeah, they are needed there, and I think strangely is important there because he's like doing like a little wry humor thing. I really like that she just like puts all the fucking rats on one boat and just blows it to fucking. This is classic Lang Tong Chintzy. And I like that XEROS would have died 1,000 deaths like Akuma to be on the Tabing and look in their faces. All those rats were drowning in a rain of 3-meter shells. 3-meter shells. Just fucking think about that for a second. This is like the scale that they're fucking working at there. So that's how we had it before. We didn't have a comma after yet, but I think you do. You need yet strangely, which seems really weird to me. We can take out the word yet, right? Strangely, only 2 ships arrived at. No, I don't like. I don't like. Let's do it like this. Yeah, I think you do need. Yet is like it's like a however or whatever. It's like an interjection type thing where we do need the comma after it, and then the adverb strangely there. It's like the whole joke hinges on that. While those rats were drowning in a rain of 3-meter shells, the rest of the fleet was bound for easy Aquarii. I think it's just a query.
Aquarius.
Fuck off. It's not helpful. Oh, not in fucking French. It's not useful. All right, let's try howtopronounce.com.
Aquarii.
Aquarii. Okay. So that works. Easy Aquarii. Yeah, howtopronounce.com is better than the YouTube vids. I agree. Maybe we'll just have that tab forevermore open. Yeah, I hate those fucking YouTube vids, man. The local collaborators and the refugees from Barnard Star were caught completely off guard. We crushed them in a pincer and ground them to paste. We trapped them in a pincer and ground them to paste. So this is like a neat one here. So easy Aquarii, hydro. You should have seen it. The Battle of Hydroperistate. I think this is something to do with like water into wine. Aquarii. Fucking.
Aquarii.
Yeah, Aquarii. So Hydroperistate is a name for heretics who used to substitute water for wine when they were giving the Eucharist. This is like an old set of heretics. and Aquarii is like like the big water deal. Um, so this is the name of like a planet named Hydroperistate. You should have seen it. The Battle of Hydroperistate was a slaughter like no other. Teetotalers, yeah, yeah, they were and they were persecuted, and like people were put to death for the crime of drinking water in place of wine. The clabs came at us like madmen, sacrificing themselves in droves to slow our advance. So here's a problem. Like we described this battle as a pincher. Um, yeah, we just gain nothing by describing it as like a pincher movement and grinding them into paste. And we also take away some of the impact of what happens next. And like when he's describing this here, he's like saying that they're like fucking swarming them, trying to delay their advance. So it reads more like a full frontal advance to me. You know, I'm about that full frontal. Sacrificing themselves in droves to slow our advance. As we drove deep into their lines, we found what they were so desperate to protect: a massive gravity signature hidden in the shadow of Sanguinus. We were hot to chase, but it was impossibly fast, escaping into null space. Once the mass vanished, the rest of the clabs tried to flee. It was too late for most. When the dust settled, there were barely any survivors left to interrogate. From those few, we've pried a name for the collaborators' superweapon. They called it the Titan Forge. So I like what's happening here now. Now my interest is I can get rid of the hyphen and off guard. Can we? Hold on. Let's find out. It looks. I think you need a hyphen there. Oh shit. In off guard, the hyphen need only be used where the phrase stands in front of a noun. So I'm giving logic not 1, but 2 points there because I was fucking completely wrong. So also you're a little behind there, buddy. But yeah, like if you catch me out being like completely wrong, you're gonna get an extra point there. And you're not gonna lose points if I'm right, because me being right is reward enough right there. So yeah, apparently it only when it's an adjectival phrase in front of a noun do you need the hyphen, which I think is what triggered me because I knew I had seen it with a hyphen previously, like an off guard turret or whatever the fuck. But yeah, they called it the Titan Forge. This is where we're really getting into like the name of the planet being Sanguinus, and so we're really getting like off of XEROS' story some strong like Warhammer feels. Titan Angus, right up in my choles. It was the crossroads of the war. Now we had proof of the traitors in high command. Many captains argued it was time to abandon the chase, fly to Sigma Draconis, and seize control of the Empire. If only Chintzy had listened. To them. There were captains who argued it was time to abandon the chase, fly to Sigma Draconis, and seize control of the Empire. If only Chintzy had listened to them. So just foreshadowing here, he doesn't reveal it at this time. but Suros is one of those captains. One of the things that uh, is not like a huge mystery or whatever in the story, but obviously like Suros is more than just a fucking drill sergeant within this thing. And it's I mean, it should be like a little obvious at this point. And even at some point, Trader is like he knows like way more than a drill sergeant ought to. And when he's talking about like planes, he's acting as if he's flown on every single plane that's been out for like a century. And these are just little tidbits where later in the story it's revealed that like obviously he's not just a fucking sergeant. Um, he figured he must have gotten uncommissioned. We get into that a little bit later in the story as to why this is going on there. But just later, he needs to be previously more important than he was here. And the fact that he's telling like this entire story about this amazing thing, Suros doesn't talk much about his role in the story right here because he doesn't want a trader to actually know what's what here. But so that's just like a little piece of what's happening here. That's not a big reveal, and I think most readers will come to like some kind of conclusion, like oh yeah, yeah well obviously he's got to be more important than just a fucking sergeant, um, just from the way that he talks and like what his level of involvement with this whole process is too high for a mere sergeant. Commander Chintzy balked at the Rubicon. Perhaps it was duty, perhaps it was honor. I think she simply couldn't resist hunting the greatest whale of all time. Iacta alea est, which I used all the fucking time, which I'm sure you all know. System after system, we chased the Titan Forge. We were beset at every step. Oh, this is the second time he uses system after system. We chased the Titan Forge, beset at every step by traps and ambushes. The Clabs continued their harried construction as they fled, devouring asteroid belts and drinking deep from nebulae. After months of pursuit, we finally caught up with them at the Wolf 497 anomaly and had our first good look at the beast. I don't know if that's actually an anomaly. Let's find out. I don't remember what Wolf 497 is. It's a high motion star. That's kind of neat. I think there's something interesting about it. Apparently, it's a big deal in Elite Dangerous. Wolf Rayet Nebula. Yeah, I don't think it's actually an anomaly. I think I just invented that it was an anomaly. Star Trek Wolf 359. First fight with the Borg. After months of pursuit, we finally caught up with them at the Wolf 497 anomaly. It was our first look at the beast. It was huge. The Titan Forge looked like a moringa seed made of molten lead, 80 kilometers wide. Okay, so we get into some very specific geometry describing this, and I need to know if this is like totally jarring to the reader there. There was a 3-part husk orbiting it, a trigonal hosahedron of free-floating lunae. These lunae were incubators, bombarding the core with gamma radiation as they swept around it in independent orbits. So, what we're actually describing there is like, say that this is the Titan Forge, like this is the moringa seed, which is like 3 lobes generally, making like kind of a beach ball type shape. And each of the lunae is like kind of like a curved face of like one of those 3-part. It's like kind of like an arc or whatever, and 3 of them are orbiting around this moringa seed in independent orbits and bombarding it with radiation. So, yeah, too much. Maybe it looks like a giant penis. Um, these lunae were incubators, bombarding the core with gamma radiation as they swept around it in independent orbits. When the radiators overlapped, they amplified each other, flooding space with pions and neutrinos. We witnessed just one triple stack. We witnessed only one triple stack, which led to an exponential increase in output. The discharge was intense enough to burn out sensors 20,000 kilometers away. I like this description right here, and it was just very difficult to get across what I had in my mind. Um, but this is one where I may have to like accept. Like I'll think about it a little bit because I'm sure that it could be described like a little bit more elegantly. But also it kind of looks like those old fashioned atoms, right? Where you have like the little things in arcs. Where if instead of that it was just like a third of an orange peel, like whipping around it in arcs. And I think also the orbit between the lunae is just like like they're stacked on top of each other pretty close, like 2 fingers on top of whatever. I don't know. I think it's cool. Uh, and when we're trying to talk about the so a lunae is like here this is easier. Let's take a look at so this is a hosahedron, right? A hosahedron is like a beach ball type shape, and each of these each of the sort of panes of the beach ball, imagine it being trigonal means that just imagine that there are just 3 of these things and they make a sphere. So each of those 3 arcs would be a different lunae. And here's what a moringa seed looks like. Please don't be pornography. Okay, yeah, so here, these are what moringa seeds look like. You see this like cool kind of like 3-part situation right there? I couldn't think of anything else that made that shape. I've never eaten these. I bet it'd be cool. Moringa is supposed to be pretty good for you. In fact, in another book that I was writing, we talk about how one of the characters is investing in a moringa farm. So yeah, so this is a lunae, just one of these faces right here, and basically, like if we extruded it into a 3-dimensional polygon instead of like a 2-dimensional face of a polygon, and just gave it like some thickness and so forth, that's what we're imagining right here. So I wish we had some of like the math people from Not Math in here because they would be able to tell me like how bullshit this is. I honestly would never fight a ship that looked like that. I'm serious, man. It's just like, what the fuck is this? This is where we're getting into the hyper advanced technology of the collaborators, right? Where everything that the Hezo is fighting them with is what you would like consider to be like a traditional like fucking Battlestar Galactica looking type ship. The collaborators aren't fucking around like that. They have like some advanced patents there, and I like this idea that the free floating lunae are doing some kind of like they're like incubating essentially an egg, and that comes up later in the story where it looks like there's just this big moringa seed made of molten lead. To me, this is super cool. Like that's the kind of image where I'd be like, holy shit. But I don't know that we do the greatest job of. There's a 3-part husk orbiting it, a trigonal hosahedron of free-floating lunae. I'm sure that could be done better. But I don't have the right fucking answer for it right now. We need like a geometry person to sort it out there. And there's more geometry throughout the story here. I think we get into like, yeah, the comparison of manned versus unmanned ships in the last chapter. So later we get into like, not only do the collaborators have like some very different ships But they have like they're fighting under a very different set of rules of engagement, which is one of like the pivotal, interesting things about the story right here. I'm not going to spoil the surprise for you, but it's one of the things that I like best about the conflict between the Hezo and the collaborators. They're not playing by the same rules at all. Um, these lunae were some of the first examples of radiative plane projection, the great grandfather of the ramp system in your ships. The technology let the behemoth. The technology let the behemoth Titan Forge outrun our swiftest ships. We had nothing that could match it. There was so much about the forge we could not understand. We had no clue how it was generating so much energy, or why its mass was so impossibly high. Either our instruments were malfunctioning, or the collaborators had found a way to collect material from a neutron star. We can't italicize this here. So this is like an italics for emphasis. And this is where you start really going like the collaborators had found a way to collect material from a neutron star. What the fuck? Um, this is where you're like, oh, why are we fighting these motherfuckers right there? With their if it's so desired, I have no doubt the Titan Forge could have annihilated every ship in our fleet. We can't just italic. It doesn't. I can't italicize that. Um, yeah. So here's the thing. Like I can't do like a fucking neutron star. One, because it doesn't quite track with where XEROS like spits his venom. Um, and then the other part of it is I don't know, like maybe we have to anticipate like a quarter of our readers just don't know what a neutron star is. Um, well, they're science fiction readers. Yeah, probably about a quarter. They're gonna be like, "What's a neutron star?" Um, or they'll have like a vague understanding of what a neutron star is, and they won't be like, "What the fuck? Um, how?" Like, because we're really just like a step or two above being like, "Oh yeah, we're just shaving off a little of this black hole and using it to make our ship." Uh, so I think the emphasis is high enough for somebody who knows like what a neutron star is all about, and everybody else is not going to get it. And they're just going to have to uh, hold their finger down on neutron star and be like, oh shit. Um, and I hate like when I'm like saying like, people aren't going to get this, blah blah blah. I don't want to come across as like I'm so smart for knowing what a neutron star is. Like I didn't know jack shit about neutron stars until I started. I knew that they were like fucked up and super dense, but I didn't know the extent to which they were fucked up and super dense until I started writing this book and like reading up on them. So I don't know. I feel like I'm like some people aren't gonna get this, and I feel like kind of a cocksucker saying that. But really and truly, I mean, this is not data that's at the forefront of most people's minds all the time. Put it on its own. No, no, let's just leave it like that. It does fit my style and everything, but I don't want to draw too much emphasis to here. Um, it being part, I just know they're like 20% of our readers. Their eyes are just going to kind of glaze over in these segments right here, and I wanted to just be like one block for them, and then their eyes can glaze over, and they get back to the story and the spaceships and shit like that. Um, if you don't think that, I think 20% of readers won't understand the importance, but it's not story pivotal importance. Like this is a place where it's okay if the reader's like, "Zzz," and they just skip this fucking paragraph, right? For the people who do like super in-depth sciencey space shit and so forth, this is their fucking jam, and they already know like what the fuck. A neutron star. Okay. I'll just get my mint coffee. Be right. Oh, I didn't want to chase off Spathy Walk. Um, but that's something I'm thinking about more and more as I get older. Is just people aren't going to pay attention to every fucking word in your book. Like, if you think about the average novel, think about how much of it you actually read and how much you just kind of like glaze over right there. A story has to be like really gripping you for you to read every single word carefully and think about it. For the vast majority of readers, and people will skip pages and skip paragraphs and so forth. Sometimes you'll see like a whole fucking block of text and just be like, it depends on how invested you are. Not us though. We're really invested. If it so desired, I have no doubt the Titan Forge could have annihilated every ship in our fleet. But like all the works of the devil, the ancient shackles hold. The Forge had no choice but to retreat, outrunning our missiles and escaping into null space. Chintzy had planned for this. A big ass star, bro. It's fucking mass. It's almost as massive as your fucking mom, dude. It's almost as dense as you are, mother bitch. Love it. Ugh. And not even a big ass star. Like they're like 100 kilometers across. They're fucking teeny tiny, but they're so dense. It's fucking crazy. It might just be like an error with our measurements or some shit that we can't really understand at this point. So much of what we think we know about the cosmos could shift. If we, it could just be you get like literally that you get a light year away from Earth, and every law of physics just changes, and we would have no idea. we just haven't, it's not like we can land on the surface of one of these motherfuckers and be like, yeah, it feels pretty dense to me. Ugh. Strike Force Lu had been split into 3 attack wings, Alpha, Beta, and Gamma. Alpha's task was to surprise the Forge at Wolf 497 and flush it into retreat. Beta and Gamma wings were lying in ambush at the 2 closest systems. Now there's a paper saying maybe dark matter doesn't exist. I have never once, not for one fucking second in my life, believed in the existence of dark matter. It has always seemed like a horseshit kludge to me. That shit is like basically philosophy. And I've always hated like that concept. I think that something is wrong in the ideas, like where you have to postulate this entire class of fucking dense matter that makes up 70% of the universe, and you can't see it or detect it or anything. Fuck out of here. Like something's wrong with the model. And that's just like my layman's. But you got to realize like my gut reactions and so forth are just stupid. Like I'm also like I don't think the speed of light really is a limit fundamentally. I think there's something wrong at that upper. It's just like things that just seem wrong to me, and so I believe them in spite of all the if I can name me either. Get the fuck out of here. Super strings. How about you super suck my super dick? That shit don't make no sense. Anyhow. More like stupid strings. How about that, huh? Ugh. I remember an astronomer woman and me. I'm like, yeah, I just don't think that the speed of light is really like a limit. I think you can go faster. And she's just like, no, that's not how it fucking works. And I was like, yeah, well, you have your beliefs and I have mine. And she was so mad about it. I was kind of just trolling her at the time. But a big part of it, I don't want to believe that there's like some fundamental limit to how fast things could go. I really, relativity I think a lot of people when they first heard it, they were just bothered by it. It just seemed so fucked up. I mean, I know, like a lot of this has been experimentally confirmed and whatnot, but goddamn. Anyhow, so back to the story. Strike Force Lu had been split into 3 attack wings, Alpha, Beta, and Gamma. Alpha's task was to surprise the Forge at 497 and flush it into retreat. At Wolf 497, Beta and Gamma wings were waiting in ambush at the two closest system, gambling that Murfid was the most likely escape vector. Hold on. I think it's just Murfid. No, yeah, we're on our own there. Gambling that Murfid was the most likely escape vector, Chintzy assigned her most powerful artillery to Gamma Wing and took direct command. Chintzy won her bet. The Titan Forge emerged from null space at Murfid with shields down and defenses offline. The behemoth was greeted by a furious barrage from all sides. The Forge technology was incredible, but it was not invulnerable. Our surprise attack destroyed the outermost lunae of its husk. The second lunae was so badly damaged the Forge had to abandon it. Several hyperlauncher torpedoes made their way to the seed core, bursting like solar flares. Yet all the firepower we could muster was not enough. Yeah, the universe is under no obligation to make sense to us. Yeah, man. I like a little mystery along the edges and just being able to like, man, I wonder what the fuck is going on there. I like that there are endless frontiers that we can go to as I sit day after day inside of my fucking house. I don't think I've gotten like a mile away from my house in like a month. Ugh. It's snowy. No, that's not true. I've gotten out of the city, but yeah, all the time I like wind up thinking about that. One of those reality is a simulation fucking movies, where a guy's like, yeah, just drive out as far as you can, see what you see, and he sees like the very edge of the simulation of Los Angeles or whatever. I forget what movie it came out like after The Matrix, and it was like not as compelling. But what do we got here? All the firepower we could muster was not enough. The Forge was able to raise their shields and limp away to Arcturus. Once more, the history of mankind pivoted on Admiral Chintzy. Alpha Wing and Beta Wing were too distant to join us in time. Arcturus was a collaborator's stronghold. Chintzy would have to fight with a third of her fleet or risk the Forge escaping again. Admiral Chintzy chose to pursue. Our call for emergency reinforcements was answered by S. Admiral Zishi. And we got into admirals, but he's like Shengjian Admiral. Yeah, the Truman Show, stuff like that. Yeah, just the idea that if you step outside the bounds of your ordinary life, you'll start to see the strings of reality, which is what doing a bunch of acid will do for you. Oh, French prison, been there. But Admiral Chintzy chose to pursue. Our call for emergency reinforcements was answered by S. Admiral Zishi. Strike Force San was close to our ring ship, and they would be able to join our assault. We talk about what UNESCO ring ships are, or UNISECA ring ships are later in the story, and it becomes like a point later on. But essentially, ring ships are like these big rings that like they're ships that are, I think, like multi-kilometer rings, and basically the two of them fly in pairs, and they basically like act like a big slingshot through null space. Like you'll park your fleet in between these two rings in this like cylinder, and it'll just hyper accelerate anything that is in between the two rings in a null space. And I think later on we talk about how it takes like 3 days of alignment to fire one of these fucking things, and when something goes wrong, they just go nova and take out the entire fucking system, which is super cool to me. And the other part of it is like it's described as UNESCO technology being like sort of lost technology. Like they can't figure out how to keep these things fucking running, and every time they lose one, that's it. They just don't have any more, which I really I like the idea of the UNISECA period being like a golden age where they can't replicate their stuff. And this is a continual meme in human culture. The idea that there was like a previous golden age where shit was right, where in the Middle Ages they were like, the Romans, they really had it going on, and the Romans were like, those Egyptians, they really had it going on. And if you go into their myth, they have like the Bronze Age and the Golden Age and the Silver Age and the Iron Age, and the Earth is like a water balloon launcher. Sometimes goes off in your hands. Yeah, exactly. Like, you can't take the heat. Get your ass out the kitchen. We on a mission. Strike Force Sand was close to a ring ship. They would be able to join our assault. Zishi requested we delay long enough to join for a joint assault. They would be able to join our attack. Zishi requested we delay long enough for a joint assault. And prepare for a joint assault, but there was blood in the water, and Shinsi would not be denied. Gamma Wave stormed into Arcturus, guns blazing. All right, and so this is where we get into this is a genre that I don't really write military fiction for the most part. And I don't read military fiction, so this is just like an amateur try at describing a space battle, where I'm just trying to be like kind of exciting with it. There, I don't know how good I do at describing the space battle. Hopefully really good. Hopefully it's amazing. It's the greatest space battle of all time. But it's a spot where, like in my mind, I'm like, probably I should like read some kind of military sci-fi and try to get a feel for this, or just have somebody who's more familiar with it be like, no, you do this and that and that. So this is something where somebody who likes that kind of fiction could give a big leg up. Gamma Wave stormed into Arcturus, guns blazing. We had just one Zanwu carrier, 2 Mark III battleships, and 5 frigates, including the ferocious Hyperion hyperlauncher that had wounded the Titan Forge so grievously. Where does he wound him? Do they do it at Murfid? Yeah. Mm-hmm. The Hyperion hyperlauncher. I like the sound of that. Among our support ships was Reciprocity, the very first Wuseksakai shield battery to see combat. So Wuseksakai, which I'm pronouncing here, let's. No, I can't even try to pronounce it because it's like, well, we can try. So this is, yeah, that's not gonna fucking happen. So this is a Chinese myth about a coat of many colors. It's like a multicolored cloak that protected its wearer from like all injury. Admiral Chintzy had the helm at her flagship, the ancient and formidable VTS Ultra Dreadnought Bulldog. So one thing that we get into a little bit here is you'll see references to like all these previous empires that were there, and they're like Uniseka is like the first in the series. That's like the golden age technology where they have gigantic fucking ships and nobody's sure how their stuff happens. And then VTS is like a period after the Uniseka where they have like these long drawn out space battles and everything is built like they're like Russian technology almost, where everything is like over engineered and gigantic and so forth. And then there's another phase called Policia Ngraya, which is like PNG right there, which is like we don't go too deep into what they are. They're just like another spot that's there. I think they're involved in like some kind of shady experiments and shit. And then we get to the Hezo, which is like kind of the like standing on the shoulders of giants, Imperial Japan kind of situation where they have some advanced technology that they've come up with, but they're quickly running out of steam, which I like. So I like that her dreadnought is named Bulldog. It was a bitter fight to reach XEROS. Uh, Actually, that's or Ursurus. So it's just like it's a invented planet name with because it's Arcturus, like the bear constellation. So their planet is named Ursurus. The Clabs outnumbered us 3-1, but we were Steel Wave. We carved a bloody road through the defenders, hell bent on our quarry. The Forge was cowering in the shadow of Ursurus, docked at the outermost orbital ring for emergency repairs. As we battled our way across the system, the first waves of Strikeforce sand began emerging from null space at our rear. Shangjiang Xinxi's fleet boasted 3 Zanwu characters. Look at this whole nonsense. And I think I don't know a lot about like naval fiction, but I think you kind of have to be like these are the ships in our fleets and so forth. Maybe you should read like Master and Commander or something. Yeah, maybe I will read that. All right, I'm gonna read that because I've heard it's good. Aren't there like 20 books in that series? But yeah, I'll read that and see what they fucking do and see if I have any room for improvement. I'm always happy to rip people off. Only people are asking if there's LRH tonight. Any LRH, but we're just editing. Sorry. Shangjiang Zishi's fleet boasted 3 Zanwu carriers, 2 Guandao missile frigates, and 5 Mark V battleships. So each of these Chinese names there is just like me. It's like a mashup of a different type of animal where I've like tweaked the characters a little bit. Zishi arrived last in command of the Shunian, a gigantic Mark VII battleship. So Shunian, I think, just means sword. No, it means something else. I should have just every time I like come up with some fucking thing, I should note what it is. In one of my oil portraits, I was Master and Commander with my homie. Money or silver to enumerate one by one. It definitely meant something like is destiny, luck, and powerful. To develop shunya, neutrality, or the 0 point. There was some clever fucking permutation I had done, but I've since forgotten it, so it wasn't that clever at all. Zishi arrived last in command of the Shunian, a gigantic Mark VII battleship. Zishi broadcast orders for Gamma Wing to hold position and wait for Strikeforce San. But we could not comply. We were too deeply committed to slow our advance. Gamma Wing reached the Roche limit. I think it's Roche. Maybe it's Rochambeau.
Roche.
Roche means rock. Hold on. That's Roche. Let me see if we can pronounce it here.
Roche limit.
Roche limit. All right, there we go. The Roche limit. Gamma Wing reached the Roche limit of use. Okay, so this is spelled wrong here. Of Ursurus, audaciously poised within range of their planetary defense array. The Clabs must have thought we'd gone mad. You should have seen the look on Admiral Chincy's face as she broadcast her demand for immediate and unconditional surrender. The fire in her eyes, the murder in her smile. Lang Tong Chincy, the angel of death. Oh, I like that. There were no white flags from the collaborators. They knew about Strikeforce Lu. They greeted us with their most powerful weapon, a TGZK burst. How apropos. Once, the battle would have ended in that single shot. With every so TGZK, the reason why it's apropos is it's a gamma burst, And GZK is it's I think it includes the names of the three people who discovered gamma rays. So they're hulking out here. Once the battle would have ended in that single shot, with every living organism in Gamma Wings sterilized. But the collaborators didn't know about reciprocity. The Wu Sexkai shield battery activated successfully, drinking in the incredible energies flung at our fleet and reflecting them back at their source. It drank the incredible energies flung at our fleet and reflected them back at their source. Imagine it, traitor. Until that day, no military had ever deployed TGZK weaponry against an inhabited planet. It drank in. Okay, you like the in? I'll give that to you. I don't have a strong opinion there, and if you like it, it's in. You're the captain. Until that day, no military had ever deployed TGZK weaponry against an inhabited planet. It was too barbaric, even for the VTS. Your Surian fools were the first. The Usurian fools were the first with their unwitting act of self-genocide. The reflected burst caused a mass extinction effect across the entire hemisphere. 1 billion collaborators died in a single shot. So this is like a really interesting spot here where XEROS is kind of explaining away, like we were fired upon, so we just wiped out this fucking planet. And not even just like went in there and purged like dissidents or whatever, but literally sterilized a hemisphere of an inhabited planet. That's gangster shit right there. And I wanted to come across too that he the kind of dishonesty of the way that he's going about it, where it's like, oh yeah, well they fired on us, so we had to wipe out their entire fucking planet, as if they hadn't rolled in there with guns blazing and carved this bloody road up to their planet, trying to take out their Titan Forge. And I like that part of the character, this sureness that their side is right. And I don't want him to be like, oh, I felt bad about wiping out these collabs. That's not him. Like Captain Cisco from DS9, but it was just reflected. What you mean, Cisco from DS9? I don't like. I've only seen like the first and second season, I think. What was it? Just reflecting off of his bald head? Why do I have having been attacked there? We had no choice but to return fire. Our answering barrage destroyed all three of Eucerus's orbital rings. On the far side of the planet, the survivors awoke to find the sky ablaze. The three great bands that had once spanned their horizons were shattered. The fragments fell upon them in a cataclysmic rain that will last for centuries. Cisco hosed that whole planet to destroy his enemies? I think I remember something like that. Was that in like one of the early seasons? Where they were like, oh, that's so gangsta. How could you do that? It's like, fuck it. They owed me money. What do you want? You sure it wasn't in like some fucking hollow suite? Oh, it was all a dream. I used to read Word Up magazine type horse shit. Hope not. Planetary genocide. I like the Usurian fools were the first with their unwitting act of self-genocide. The reflected burst caused a mass extinction event across the entire hemisphere. 1 billion collaborators died in a single shot. We had no choice but to return fire. Our answering barrage destroyed all three of Eucerus's orbital rings. On the far side of the planet, the survivors awoke to find the sky ablaze. The three great bands that had spanned their horizons were shattered. The fragments fell upon them in a cataclysmic rain that will continue that will continue for centuries. XEROS was once the busiest shipyard in collaborator space. Today, it is an irradiated graveyard. In 50,000 years, the planet will still be uninhabitable. Like season 5? Oh, okay. No big spoiler for me there on this 20-year-old TV series. This is the work of the collaborators. They will make any sacrifice for their demon god. They will martyr planets, snuff entire systems. They would slit this galaxy's throat to bloody his altar. This is what you're fighting against. The Clabs could have surrendered, but they chose planetary suicide. Loving it. Even the destruction of a planet was not enough to convince the collaborators to relinquish their Titan forge. What do we have here? Hope you didn't see that. Fucking secrets in there. There was great chaos in the aftermath. Some of the collaborator ships were firing wildly. Some were motionless. Civilian ships were scrambling from all over the system, flying at us on collision courses. Freighters, tankers, transports, miners. We swatted them down like flies while they sacrificed themselves to slow our advance. It was like hydroperistate all over again. Ahead of us, the collaborators were rallying for a final defense. We surged forward, eager for another shot at the forge. Capital C. Yeah, we're going to go ahead and capitalize collabs. Would you capitalize commies? Hold on. Editors of Orbis. Yeah, I don't think collab should be capitalized. We have to go back and fucking fix that at some point. Because it's like basically... And collabs are not a stand-in for communists, right? There's something like a little bit more advanced going on, and this is like a war between like collectivism and whatever. But there's some element, because they are like collaborators. But communists hate collaborators because they're snitching. What do we got here? We surged forward, eager for another shot at the forge. In all of this, we'd nearly forgotten Strikeforce San at our rear. We received an emergency transmission from the Shunian. Shangjian Zishi appeared on our comms. The wattle at his neck quivered as he shook with anger. That's too much. Yeah, that detail does not belong in His face was pale, and he shook with anger. Admiral Chinsi, what have you done? Zishi demanded. I was fired upon, Shangjiang. I retaliated. Chinsi replied. You've killed them all. Not yet, sir, but I will, Chinsi promised. Shout out to Wall. It's just too much, right? It's like you can't have like this epic like planets are being exploded, and let's focus on this guy's fucking turkey neck. And I know the reason why I did it is because I want to paint him as old and weak, and I want Shinsi to be like young and bold. But the detail just like then you're just fucking thinking about this guy's neck. But his ancient face was pale, and he shook with anger. The other part of it too is I want to like have it clear that these guys have committed like an atrocity, right? They have put themselves in a position where they just wiped out this civilian planet, and I want there to be like dissent in the ranks where people are like, "What the fuck are you doing?" Right? And I want it to be clear that Strike Force Lu are like these hardliners. These are like the Schutzstaffel of the Hezo, and yeah, I like the fact that this is happening. The transmission halted. For a few seconds, the screen was frozen on Zishi's fathomless disgust. He'd killed the transmission to issue orders off screen. Behind us, we could see Strikeforce Sand shifting. Shinsi pointed 3 fingers at her second in command, then one at her communications officer. The fact that fucking XEROS is describing this means that he was on the bridge, right? When we get down to it. So that's like an important situation right there. Both men set to work immediately. The COC fired off null space beacons to alert Alpha Wing and Beta. The COC fired off null space beacons to warn Alpha and Beta Ring. I think null space isn't capitalized. The SOC ordered our ships into phalanx formation. Phalanx formation shouldn't be capitalized. Oh, wait, I think I might have looked this up. Military capitalization is so weird. Like, you got to go so deep into the capitalization cut. I don't think you would. I don't think we would capitalize this. SOC ordered our ships into phalanx formation. Hormation. I'm all about that hormation. Ready to fight a battle on all sides. Shangjiang Zishi reappeared on screen. There was no more trembling, no more emotion in his voice. He'd made his decision. Admiral Lang Tong Chinsi, you have committed crimes against humanity. You are relieved of duty. Cease pursuit and stand down. In response, our Chief of Communications opened a hail to every ship in Zishi's fleet, slicing right through their security protocols. Strikeforce San, Admiral Chinsi roared. Her broadcast appeared side by side with Zishi's, and the contrast was stark. Zishi's face was a rune of involute sags. His voice was an amphibian croak. Against him, Chinsi's lines were sharp enough to draw blood. There was hunger in her eyes, a lupine growl in her throat. The woman was a weapon, and Zishi was in her sights. Shangjiang Zishi attempted to speak, but Chinsi rolled right over him. Shangjiang Zishi is a collaborator sympathizer. He has betrayed the Navy, betrayed the Hezo collective prosperity sphere. I am assuming direct control of Strikeforce San. Any who oppose me will be destroyed. Don't be a fool, Zishi cut in. For a moment. Yeah, we need a peer. This is gangster right here. They're fucking fighting, like dueling Zoom calls. That's ridiculous. Zishi cut in. For a moment, the two transmission grated against each other like parrying blades. You're outnumbered and surrounded. You must... Zishi's voice disappeared in a roar. Zishi's voice disappeared in a roar of static. How can I describe it? It was like Mahler's 10th. Shunian had 9 reactors on her starboard side. The Hyperion hyperlauncher played a Schrecklich chord upon them. Sforzando! 9 null-space torpedoes, synchronized to the picosecond. Fired before Zishi ever gave the order to stand down. Fired before Zishi even gave the order to stand down. Chinsi knew. Der Teufel tanzt mit mir. Okay. So we're getting into some deep German right here. And we reveal many things that should have been foreshadowed earlier right there. So, We need to foreshadow earlier in the story that XEROS is a classical music buff. You can't just drop this shit on people. A Handforth Parish meeting. I haven't seen it. I'll watch that after the thing. Okay, so we need to foreshadow XEROS being a classical musical buff. Worth my time later. All right, remind me. Just link it in IRC and I'll check it out if you can. So what's happening here in this thing? So Mahler's 10th and unfinished symphony, I think, has. So I started looking for a chord, like what it meant when you had a chord with 9 notes in it. Because I was like, is there a name for this whole thing? There isn't, because very few chords have 9 notes in them. And it's just not like a typical thing. I thought it would be something like, like a triad or a fifth or something like that. Not the case. And I'm sure those chords exist. I just couldn't find something that was there. But I started reading this article about a Schrecklich chord. And Schrecklich, I think I even have where I stole this from, taken from an article about Mahler's 10th Symphony, which has a 9-note chord of profound despair. And also Schrecklich is a direct German word, so I don't like that we go German into Italian there. If we take out anything, it should be sforzando. But it's like especially as a direction with sudden influences, like sforzando on the keys right there, which is what I wanted to have happen there. So I think I'll leave it in, but I don't like popping from like German to Italian to whatever. But we're really getting deep into the axis with XEROS here. 9 null space torpedoes, synchronized to the picosecond, fired before Zischi even gave the order to stand down. Chintzy knew. Der Teufel tanzt with mir. So this is the devil dances with me. So here's a character note that I added here. It makes a lot of sense to have XEROS come across as barbaric to others, but with Trader, he reveals that he is highly educated, a connoisseur of classical music, military history, and philosophy, and it could play into the young and old dynamics. This is absolutely something that I want to have happen in the story, is that XEROS has this refined side that's at contrast with the total brute that he is constantly to the other people. So when we do like a little bit of shaping work on this later, we want it to be clear that this is a side of him that he doesn't reveal to the others. That there's more to XEROS than just like this unthinking, brutish monster, and that his terrible viewpoints are the result of like a long and like cup of brandy staring into the void reflection. We don't. Even though his views and so forth are pretty like, he's very draconian and so forth. They need to be justified from his viewpoint. He needs to be like a character with some depth and whatever. But so we're getting into a little bit where he's like calling to this ancient symphony and like knows the language of music, and we do that a little bit earlier. There's a part where the clicking of his boots is as regular as a metronome, which I like. But yeah, I want to watch that Hanford Parish meeting thing. In those days, Ezo battle protocol dictated the command detachment should fly in close formation. They huddled together to benefit from the excellent protection of their Wugoi shield battery. Wugoi is turtle. It was an effective strategy against the collaborators. Few of their weapons could penetrate the telluric energy-reducing particle shell. I like that we're using telluric. I can't remember what telluric is. Of the soil. Telluric current, an electric current which moves underground or through the sea. Natural causes and human interactive. What the fuck? Unusually natural electric current flowing beneath the surface. This is a dope. Yeah, I think I just meant like I just wanted it to be like an earth shield. But telluric current. That's neat. Energy reducing particle shell. I don't like energy reducing. Let's check that out. But we weren't collabs. This has to be collaborators. But we weren't collaborators. Our hyperlauncher torpedoes phased right through the shell, detonating inside the reactors. They exploded in blooms of relativistic shearing like razor chrysanthemums. Oh, I love that, where they're just like phasing out of this null space, and there's like this relativistic shearing effect. I like that image, is dope to me. Shunian was annihilated in a single volley. A terrible chain reaction began. Nearby was Quanto, a Guandao missile frigate, commanded by Zhongjiang Ding Yano. Why the fuck? I think commanded by Zhongjiang Ding Yano, too much. Yeah, we gotta cut this. Ding Yano. I don't know what the fuck I was putting that in there for. At first, it seemed she might weather the explosion, but a fire ignited in her magazine. 15 seconds later, she was consumed by a massive eruption. Her sister ship Minbing and reserve Zanwu Glia were dragged down to Diu with her. In a single stroke, Strike Force San had lost their Shangjiang. Oh, that's why. That's why. Yeah. So it was necessary to be like, they lost their first and second in command. Am I finally reading the Twitch chat? I've always been reading the Twitch chat. Like, if it appears on the screen up here, I read it. If it doesn't appear on the screen here, let me see. Yeah, like I've reacted to like every fucking chat. So, how dare you take me astray? It's been so long, my guy. No, I mean, it's about as long as it took me to write this fucking book and get it in shape for editing. So, I think I started like working on it. I wrote the first part of it, like the first. We wrote up to, I think, like the corrupt chapter. So the first 20% of it I had written before we did the edit for Lemon Maybe, and then I went back to it and polished this fucker off in like 3 or 4 months. So that's a novel in like 3 months. That's no joke. That's actually more like 4, because no, like the edit took like a little bit, but yeah, like in 3 months I wrote this novel. It's short. It's only like 50,000 words, but to me, that's pretty gangsta. Just having like, I had the idea early in the year. I'm like, I'm gonna execute this motherfucker and just get it done. And it's every single day I worked on it, and like a lot of days I was only getting like 250 words out, because it was just, I had to like work on this one to make it, which is why I'm like a little afraid that it's not as good as the other ones, because like it wasn't written in like a flow state. It was written in a forced state, where I had to like really work at it and so forth. But so far I like where it's gone, honestly. 15 seconds later, she was consumed by a massive eruption. Her sister ship Minbing and reserve Zanwu Glia were dragged down to Diu with her. In a single stroke, Strike Force San had lost their Shangjiang, their Zhongjiang, and both of their main artillery. Audentis fortuna juvet. Learn that well, Proditor. Strike fast, strike first. So here he's like getting into Latin, right? I didn't read your messages a while back for some odd reason, but thank God that you're streaming now. I don't respond to messages on Twitch while I'm not streaming. I just don't. I don't ever open up Twitch. All my streaming is like through Restream, so I never would have synced it. Yeah, you got to hit me on IRC if you got something important for me. Or like you can hit me on Twitter or fucking send an email or whatever, but like very seldom do I look at Twitch messages. Because it's usually just spammers. Hey, grow your channel, enlarge your penis. Without Chintzy's audacious attack, neither of us would be here. Gamma Wing would have been encircled and overwhelmed. You never would have been born. Don't look so enthused, you degenerate. You're mine now. You will exist until I order you to cease. Cease. I like that. I do like where from time to time he has like these asides to Trader as he's like stops. Let me diss Trader for a second here and get back to my fucking story. Love it. Now, imagine the chaos manifest that was the Battle of Arcturus. A planet in flames beneath us, the stars above glittering with death. Before us, a collaborator fleet swelling with reinforcements. Behind us, the headless serpent of Strikeforce Sand. 10-1, traitor. 10-1, and we set upon them. Oh, yes. Ten to 1, and we set upon them. Again and again they tried to swallow us, but we stuck in their throats until they choked on us. We were not alone. A few true patriots remained in Strikeforce Sand. One carrier and one battleship swore allegiance to Chintzy and turned their guns on the reconciler filth in their ranks. 3 days of battle, traitor. 3 days of go pills and sorties. Casualties, calamities, carnage. We had to become animals, traitor. No, we gotta take out that traitor. We had to become animals. Every second of life had to be clawed from the flesh of our enemies, while they strove to return the favor. But we were better than them. Almost 10 times better. Almost. By the third day, Strikeforce Sand was no more. As its sole remaining battleship tried to flee the system, the hyperlauncher spent its very last torpedo to blow the coward to bits. Collaborator reinforcements kept arriving. There seemed to be no end to them. They couldn't outfight us, but it was increasingly clear they could outlast us. Gamma Wing was depleted. 3 of our frigates had been destroyed. 2 had exhausted their magazines. We were down to 1 Zanwu with only a third of her fighters remaining, and most of her pilots too fatigued to fly. Our sole remaining battleship had only half of her cannon online. Only Bulldog was still fully operational. The Ultra Dreadnought had been designed for the lengthy battles of the VTS era. She was still in fighting condition. At Bulldog's helm, Lang Tong Chintzy had been awake for the entire battle. Her voice was a tortured rasp, but the orders never slowed. Her eyes were bloodshot, but they never lost their fire. 1 defender remained, an ancient Ingraya Owlmoon-class arc that could do little more than absorb fire meant for the Titan Forge. Bulldog flew in close and opened up with their hypercane cannons. What? No, of course they existed. Who are you going to believe, me or some faceless fraud on a forum? The VTS didn't fuck around, traitor. Every single thing they did was overkill. When those hypercanes roared, every single microbe on Bulldog felt it. 23,000 explosive bolts per second. Every third bolt was incendiary plasma. When you hit a ship, it looked like you were drawing a bead with an arc welder. Ooh, getting deep into this shit right here. We quartered that poor Owlmoon. Easy as slicing an orange. Do you remember those? I'd kill. You remember those? No. Easy as slicing an orange. Remember oranges? I'd kill for one right now. No, shut up. I'm not here to fantasize. Where was I? Oh yes, the white whale. At last, Chintzy had a clear shot at our quarry. Bulldog sank her teeth into the last Lune and ripped it to shreds. The Titan Forge was ours at last, stranded in space. But we'd hooked Santiago's Marlin. Our artillery was spent. We had nothing left that could destroy the beast. Alpha Wing was still a week away. Ezo reinforcements were inbound, but we didn't know if they would aid us or attack us. We should have retreated, but we couldn't. But we couldn't bear to. Not after all we'd spent. Then the Glomer arrived. and it was too late. Here they are, traitor. Look at them. Those are Goldberg polyhedrae, the forged technology adapted into into carriers. Each one of those pentagons is a propulsive shielding device. The hexagons are fighter bays, and so here's what a Goldberg polyhedra looks like. Or polyhedron. So this is a Goldberg polyhedron. It's like essentially a polyhedra that's made up of hexagons surrounding pentagons. And this is exactly what one of those Glomer ships looks like. And there are formulae for exactly how many hexagons will happen for how many pentagons and so forth. It's a neat little math thing that is like sadly beyond me, but they make really cool shapes when you get into it. Like they start wiling out here, and you can just get so much crazy shit happening with these guys. Oh, well, now they're just fucking bored. There we go. And soccer balls are like this. They're like one of the immediate things. Oh, let me see. Yeah, they're like a little bit different, but you can see the pentagons ringed by hexagons. So that was just kind of like a cool little thing to have happening there. Yeah. Truncated icosahedrons right here. So this is more of what you would like the soccer ball look. The geometry is associated with footballs, typically patterned with white hexagons and black pentagons. Gangsta. It also corresponds to the geometry of fullerene, the buckyball molecule. Ooh, a long chapter. I'm going at this for a little bit here. Then the Glomer arrived, and it was too late. Here they are, traitor. Look at them. Those are Goldberg polyhedrae, the forged technology adapted into carriers. Each of those pentagons is a propulsive shielding device. The hexagons are fighter bays. The Glomer were a third. The Glomer were only a third the size of one of our Zanwu, but they were 1,000 times more massive. Imagine the power it cost to propel them. The Glomer took up a defensive orbit around the forge, like 3 electrons of a gargantuan lithium ion. The forge began to move again. They were towing it. The Glomer didn't even bother attacking us. They expected us to accept we'd been eclipsed. Instead, we attacked, throwing everything we had at the Glomer. Agalag 81 swarmed from fighter bays, wasps boiling from their hives. The way they moved. They were incredible. They made our A-88 fighters look like biplanes. They shot down everything. Yeah. They were incredible. They were incredible interceptors. They made our A-88 fighters look like biplanes. They shot down everything we threw at them. We couldn't get a single missile through. During our impotent attack, more 81s. During our impotent attack, more 81s were pullulating from the glomer. So pullulating means like swarming or emerging, and it's specifically a word that you would use with insects. It is like exactly the word for this. Finally, they hit a critical mass. A horde of them, a horde switched roles and went on the offensive. Harriers. They nipped and nibbled and gnawed us down to nothing. The Zanwu went down before she could get half of our fighters out, and they were useless anyway. No, we don't need that line. Soon the battleship shared her fate. Admiral Langtong Chincy's last act was to overcharge all of her reactors and order all hands to abandon ship. The lifeboats fired off her like a cloud of lice. The lifeboats fired off like a cloud of lice lifting from a corpse. I was one of those lice, traitor. I watched the Admiral fly right at the Titan Forge with 81s attacking her from every direction, firing all of her guns at once, roaring defiance at the Titan Forge. The fighters couldn't stop her. She rammed right into the molten skin of the Titan. But it was all for naught. The Titan Forge swallowed Bulldog whole. There was no massive explosion, no surprise victory. The Forge escaped. We lost, traitor. We lost. What do we got there? Yeah, I do like that. Boom. Soon, comma, the battleship. Yeah, that is indeed a time comma. You can tell I'm like weary at this point. That's another point for Spiffy-Wah. She rammed right into the molten skin of the Titan. Let's check out. She rammed right into the molten skin of the Titan Forge. But it was all for naught. The Titan Forge swallowed Bulldog whole. There was no massive explosion, no surprise victory. The Forge escaped. The Forge escaped and we lost. We lost, traitor. We've been losing ever since. After the disaster at Dejiao, a vast purge began. We strung the reconcilers up in the streets. We raced to discover the secrets of Forge technology, to build new fleets that could destroy the collaborators. We seized control of the High Command and went into full wartime production. But we were too late. Now here we are, traitor. One last shot to save mankind. One final mission, and you're the one. Don't let those other slugs drag you down. Train hard and bury them. Now get the fuck out of my sight. Boom! Chapter 7 is the Garbage Lance. What a chapter. The fuck is going on? That's a big ass chapter too. So that is all that I'm willing to edit for today. So we now that we know what happens in this, we can think a little bit about whether this is too big of a departure to sit in the center of the book, whether this is giving people what they want, um, and really like what it's all about there. Fuck, I should see how many pages this is too. I think like I wanted to. This is a chapter that we wrote later, right? To really get into like who XEROS is. And, all right, so we start at 46. And this is almost all you get to see of uh Soros, where he's just really being honest and in his element and admitting and um Jesus, we never read it this many pages. But I like there's so much cool shit happens, and I like fucking Chintzy executing the traitors, and like this could almost be like a neat short story in its own right. You could just cut this out of there, um, and it would like on its own right. It's like a neat story. So this is 4,260 words. That's a lot of words. And this took roughly. So we started streaming at 5:06 a.m. It is 7:52. So if we do math correctly, so we did this for 2 hours and 45 minutes. It felt like longer. It felt like way longer. Let me take a look. Yeah, 2 hours and 50 minutes. All right, I'll give myself the 50 because it felt like more. A lot of work right there. Yeah, I like what's going on this chapter. I think it could definitely use probably some pruning from the hands of a better editor than me there. I think it would be good to have like a line or two earlier in the story where Suros says something musical, or because like here we're just like, by the way, Suros is a polyglot and he likes classical music, right? That's like an abrupt shift from what a monster he is previously, and he just seems like a little bit more oafish earlier. So we just need to build to that. Like one off comment about how these guys are all off key or some horseshit like that. Um, we want it like in chapter 1 or like yeah, probably in like chapter 1. We just need to put in something where you realize that Suros isn't an idiot, and where we showed already that he had like a special attention on Trader, and we get deeper into it there. There's a lot of foreshadowing, and I can't say if it's too much or something is unnecessary until I've seen the rest. Yeah, it's one. There needs to be foreshadowing a little bit more for the musicality, but in terms of the rest of the stuff, I think the character, like this line, one last shot to save mankind, one final mission, and you're the one. Don't let those other slugs drag you down. Train hard and bury them. Now get the fuck out of my sight. Okay, and so chapter 7 is the garbage lance. So we go out of this very like stellar planet-defying stuff to like a lot of that chapter is about dealing with a garbage chute. So I like the contrast between those two chapters. And the garbage lance was the chapter we put in to fix like one of the issues that I had with pacing with this whole thing. I'd say chapter 6 is maybe like too long by a quarter. It's a very long. That's a long ass fucking chapter. But it's also not one that lends itself. It used to be broken up into 2 parts, I think, and they got consolidated and put into this one chapter. So yeah, structurally, I don't think a lot will change. I think it could be pruned a little bit, and some unnecessary stuff could be taken out. But I like it. Like it's, but I do think it's in like a rough shape. I'm not going to do redo chapters during this edit, but I think it's worthwhile. Okay, well, it is a show day today, so as long as I have not like burned out my voice here, we'll have a show later on tonight. You already know where it's at if you're into that whole scene. I want to congratulate Spathy Wah for getting to 51 edits. Logic nipping at his heels with 30. Negi has 6, and E equals MC squared sitting at 4. And yeah, really enjoying XEROS thus far. And we're almost a third of the way through here. So yeah, that halfway point is not too far away, just like 40 pages. So in like a couple of days, we may be halfway done if we keep going at this clip. We're not going to go quite so hard all the time because, you know, tomorrow's Saturday. We don't edit that hard on Saturdays. But yeah, I can't promise that we'll have a lemon maybe reading today because like already I'm like, you know, I've just been talking for 3 hours straight. But you know, we'll see where it's all at. Other than that, things are going well for me there. I like my diet is going well. I'm getting like the exercise in that I need to, working on that piano or whatever, staying away from the women, which is doing me a world of good right there. And yeah, I think we'll have another book to try, and this one may be good enough to try and sell it to, like, I don't know. It's like, so other books that I've written, like with Lemon maybe, what the fuck do you tell people about that? It doesn't fit into a genre, right? It's not, but this is just straight hard military science fiction. It's very dark and brooding, and you could probably sell this to military sci-fi people. So maybe we can sell this one too. I don't fucking know. But editors all lined up. I'm ready to go. All right, everybody, thank you so much for your help with the editing or for watching or whatever. You can always holler at me on Twitter or Discord or whatever the fuck is going on here. And have a great day. I'll see y'all tonight.